Okay, in this episode we're going to look at creating the right paddle script. As I mentioned in the description of the previous video, I forgot to tag these wool. Well, I did tag them, but all hell broke loose. Something was going on outside and there was some background noise, and I thought, that's okay, I can cut that out, I'll re-record that and stitch it together. But typical me, I forgot. So we need to make sure we've got our top and bottom bounds tagged as wool, so hopefully you did that okay. Whilst we're at it, to try and stop sending the ball out into outer space and hitting the International Space Station again, we'll add some rigid bodies to these and we'll make them static, and hopefully that will stop the ball shooting out of bounds and going into space. Just double check on your rigid body on your paddles that your mass is set to 10,000 on each paddle, and the ball, the mass can be 1, and just make sure collision detection is set to continuous on all of them. Okie doke, so with that said, if you want to create a new C# script called right paddle, before we do that, we're going to add one final function into the ball method to save us doing it later, because I'm a forgetful old git. So open up the ball. Where we've got update, we can get rid of that, and we'll just paste in a public void respawn ball method, and that will just start the coroutine. We'll be using this in the game controller at a later date. So if you want to save that, jump back into Unity. Now I've pre-written the right paddle code because it's a fair bit of code and I want to try and keep this under 10 minutes. Open up the right paddle code and I'll zoom in a little bit so it makes it a lot easier to see. These are the variables we're going to need. We need a float for the paddle speed, a float for the AI paddle speed, a float for the paddle position, which we already know when we set up the scene. We need references to our top and bottom bounds and the ball for the computer controlled player. And we also need a boolean for enabling the computer controlled player. We've got a float for our vertical input, a rigid body reference, and a ball position reference. In the start method, we would just get the rigid body like we did in the left paddle. In the update paddle, we need to change the vertical input to P2 vertical. So we need to set this up in the input manager. So I'll leave that there for a second so you can pause the screen, and then we'll jump back into Unity, and now we'll create the P2 vertical. So what you want to do is highlight the vertical in the input manager, which is found under project settings, duplicate the array element, and we'll call this P2 vertical. Delete the W and S keys from it, so you've just got up and down as your negative and positive buttons. And then for our negative and positive buttons, we'll get rid of the up, and we'll put S and W in there and delete those. Okay, so that should be all of our input taken care of. Okay, now in fixed update, we need an if statement, and we're going to check if it's AI or player. If it's player, we're going to run the move paddle function, and if it's computer controlled, we're going to run the AI paddle move configuration method function, whatever you want to call it. I'm having trouble talking today, so sorry. This is the move paddle method. It's practically identical. Well, it is identical to the left paddle. The AI one is where things start to get a bit tricky. What we need to do is get the ball's current position. I'm going to have to zoom out just to there so we can see. What we've got to do is we've got to check if the paddle position is greater than the bottom bounds and the ball position is less than the paddle position. If that's the case, we're going to move the paddle down towards the bottom and towards the ball. If that condition isn't met, we want to check if the paddle is less than the top bounds and the ball position is higher than our paddle position, then we want to move the paddle towards the ball in an upward direction. Public void AI enabled ball. This is going to be used in our game controller, and again the reset paddle will be used in our game controller. So starting from the bottom, if you want to have a little pause and type those last two methods out. There's the AI method. Okay, that's the move paddle. That's the fixed update. That's the start on update. And that's the variables that we're going to need. So with all of that coded, we can now jump back into Unity. We'll select the right paddle and drag our script that we just created onto it. We need to drag the top bounds into here, bottom bounds into there, and the ball reference into there. Now I'm going to make the paddle a little bit bigger because I couldn't hit a cow's backside with a banjo in the last lesson, so we'll make that 2. And if I've coded it all correctly, we should be able to move with the arrow keys and the W and S key, and that should move each player individually. So we click play. I'm moving this player. As you can see, the ball's going crazy and it's not going into outer space, which is a good thing. All of our collisions seem to be working okay, and I can move both paddles with the keys. So if we stop that now and tick our AI control button, hopefully this will move up and down. Now I have noticed in the newer versions of Unity, movement isn't as smooth as it was in the older versions. In the version that I created the original one in was 2017, the movement was really smooth, but for some reason in 2019 3 onwards they've changed something and the move speed seems to be a bit gay. So we click play now. With a bit of luck this will start following the ball. As you can see, it's a little bit jerky. I haven't found a solution for that yet. It doesn't happen in the older versions of Unity, it just seems to be the newer version. So that is basically the basics of Pong all ready to go. So now all you've got to do is start looking at creating a menu system and a scoring system to control the game. So I'll see you in the next episode. Once again, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.